Dear brothers and sisters, on behalf of everyone from the Buddhist Library, we wish you all a very happy and safe Vesak. This must be one of the most memorable Vesak that we all have, in that we are not able to celebrate Vesak. However, this doesn't mean that Vesak is not important or meaningless for us, because as Buddhists, we know that Vesak commemorate the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of the Buddha. And it is in times like this, in situations such as this under COVID-19, that we find that the message of the Buddha is particularly important for all of us. In the very first sermon, the Buddha has declared the Four Noble Truths. And in the first Noble Truth, he very wisely noted that birth is suffering, disease is suffering, aging is suffering, and death is suffering. So we know now very well for ourselves that disease is indeed suffering, or illness is indeed suffering. And also in that very stanza, he also explained that worry, sorrow, lamentation, all this despair, all these are suffering as well. So this is a time that we are also in times of worry. We have worries, and we are very unsure about how the future will be like. In fact, there are some who can claim that they are in a state of despair. No doubt all this is suffering, and this is brought very clear to us. Not only that, we know from dependent origination that even if we are not ourselves diseased, we can be suffering because everything is interdependent. Someone else's disease can cause suffering in me. I'm very healthy, thankfully, but so are my family, but there are people who are unwell. And it is these people's illness that can also cause various suffering in me. In particular, it can cause worry, lamentation, and despair. But the Buddha's message goes beyond this establishment of the facts of life. It is also a very positive message. He says that all this can be overcome. All this can be overcome if we put in our own individual effort to end or to control at least the root of suffering. I'm not a scientist. Most people that are watching this are probably not scientists. We don't have the means to end the disease, to end the suffering, but we can certainly control our own despair and worry, and to some extent also our own disease. Therefore, it's important to not just bear in mind the suffering aspect of the Four Noble Truths, but also the fact that there is an end, there's a possibility to end it. And mind you, by end, the Buddha doesn't mean that necessarily that there will be no more disease in this world. As much as we hope for that, scientists are warning us that the next pandemic could be just as bad, if not worse. So disease will always be with us. How we then end it is by our own understanding of how that generates suffering in us. And I think that is a very important message. We can't control the external world, but certainly we can control our reaction to the events in the external world. And with that, we can bring about a better future, not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones and for others as well, because of dependent origination. If everybody adhere to the policies that has been set out, then we will be over this very soon. And therefore it's important to bear in mind that we have certain responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to society, to behave in a particular way. This pandemic has changed the way that, and will change the way that we will have to behave in the future. And to make this change as painless as possible, we have to reflect on our own contribution and what we can do to help the situation. So it's both an individual as well as through interdependence, a societal impact that the Buddha's message has. And therefore, it is important that we bear in mind during this Vesak season the message of the Buddha. It is very positive. It can be done. He has shown that it can be done. And what it takes is mindfulness and wisdom and patience. So we know also that there are people who are trying their very best in the so-called front line of this pandemic. To the doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, the cleaners, security guard who have to risk their health and possibly life to make sure that society at least can function, we owe them a big thank. And we should be very thankful that these people are willing to take up that task. Even the Buddha has said during his time that whoever administered to the sick is administering to the Buddha. And this is a message that we ought to teach our children. At the Buddhist library, as you know, we have 3 monks. And Bhante Dhamma Ratana, unfortunately, is stuck in Sri Lanka prior to the circuit breaker period. And there's a curfew in Sri Lanka and all that. It's just impossible for him to travel back to Singapore at this time. But he sends his best wishes to everyone. I'm sure we all miss him. And I have conveyed that to him several times through phone calls. Bhante Vimalajoti and Bhante Somananda unfortunately are stuck in the library, but they are doing well. And they're able to, we make sure that there's enough supplies and things in the library before the circuit breaker period started. So they are sending their wishes as well. As with every Buddhist organization, the Buddhist library is unable to continue our activity. And right now, with the help of many, especially the most hardworking one, probably Kuntek, special thanks to him, he is making sure that we can revive some activity online. And indeed, our classes by the 2 Bhantes, Bhante Vimalajoti and Bhante Somananda, is continuing online. And in this way, we hope to continue to benefit our members as well as others through our limited activity. One of the problems that we are currently facing is that, of course, we have no activities and therefore we have no funds. But we are very conscious that many people are also possibly in hardship, financial difficulties. Therefore, the management committee has made the conscious decision not to raise for fund during this period of time. We fortunately, with the blessings of the Triple Gem, have accumulated a little reserve that should see us through maybe 6 to 9 months. And we are currently burning through this reserve, and we will not want to exact financial burden on our members if at all possible. But certainly we hope to restart our activities. and we're still very much looking forward to the fun fair at the end of the year. Although there might be new rules of engagement and we will have to change things. However, the library remains committed to restarting in accordance to the government's policies, as well as to the benefit of our members. And we look forward to your participation in our future activities. Meanwhile, please stay safe, stay positive, and stay healthy. Thank you very, very much, and wishing all a very happy Vesak again. Bye-bye.